Welcome to another edition of the Citizens Fire Academy. We're here today at the Barnstable County Fire Rescue Training Academy, just outside of Independence Park in Barnstable. And one of our shifts, Group 1, is engaged in some live fire training. But before we talk about that, I'd like to introduce Rob Christensen, who's here as an instructor and part of the staff here at Barnstable County Training Facility. Rob, if you'd tell us a bit about the Academy and what it provides.
Sure, not a problem, Cap. Here at Barnstable County Fire Academy, we provide fire training for all 15 towns on the Cape. There's no fee for the fire departments to attend training here. And all the staff here on the payroll here is either retired or current members of Cape and Islands Fire Departments. We provide here live structural firefighting, as you can see in our burn tower. We also provide technical rescue, which is behind you, collapse, confined space. And over to behind you on the right here, we also have a maritime prop here. We have a contract with the Massachusetts Maritime Academy, so all the freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors come here. We also, all the Cape and Islands paramedics come here for their biannual refresher. We provide an industrial program for the Plymouth Power Nuclear Plant that comes here every year for the recall, and another EMS training.
The facility open year-round?
It's open year-round. We generally take the summer off due to the high heat, but we also, during the summertime, we take our show, if you will, on the road, and we visit departments, going to departments doing in-service training.
As part of funding, who pays for all of this?
The Academy is actually we're self-funded through the county. Also, as part of the budget for each chief on the Cape, part of their budget does keep us afloat, if you will. Any department off Cape pays a fee to use the facility from the straw to the instructors.
That's terrific. Great facility and one that most departments take advantage of. Rob,
Absolutely.
thanks very much. Yeah. I'm going to let you go. I know you're going to be busy here this morning.
Thank you very much, Cap.
Appreciate the time.
No problem.
And what we're going to do now is just take a look at what Group 1's involved with, and it generally encompasses engine company operations. So let's take a look and see what's going on. What you're looking at is a pretty standard layout for an initial fire department response to a residential building fire. When the engine approaches an address that's reporting a building on fire, our first action may be to acquire a hydrant for a continuous, hopefully uninterrupted water supply, which they have done here. They've connected to a hydrant and now have water to extinguish the fire. And they'll position themselves in front of the fire building for either an offensive or defensive attack, depending on how much of the building is involved in fire. And they're using the burn building here, which is 3 floors, and it has a combination of short hallways and rooms, typical of what we might see when there may be a 1 or 2 rooms involved. And this scenario involves an offensive attack where they take handlines off the truck, and it's advanced inside the building by at least 2 firefighters, preferably more. And these evolutions provide an opportunity to hone their skills in line placement, search, ventilation, communication, and sometimes they'll practice mayday scenarios, and that's when a firefighter gets in trouble, either becomes lost, disoriented, trapped, or out of air and needs help immediately. This particular training is mandatory for all groups, and it takes place at least once a year. There are also programs conducted by the Academy that is not run by the fire department, but members take on a periodic basis. Invaluable. what the crew has done now is that they've entered the building that you can see has some smoke coming from several of the windows. And they've taken inside a pressurized water extinguisher, also known as the can. And this is the responsibility of one of the jump seat firefighters that he or she takes with them on each call, that provides an opportunity if they get inside and the fires hasn't progressed significantly, that they're able to either completely extinguish or at least limit the spread of fire when they get inside until they can advance a hand line inside. So that's what they're doing now. It carries 2.5 gallons of water, and it's pressurized by air and can put out, at least hold and check, a fair amount of fire that, for example, in a bedroom, a couch or chair that's just starting to get going. So that's what they're practicing now. To the layperson, if they were to witness firefighters on what we call the fire ground during a building fire, it can look unorganized, chaotic, without any direction, but that's far from the truth as to what goes on. Everyone on the fire ground has a role and a responsibility, and it's it's well laid out, some of it beforehand. And in this particular case, when the first arriving engine arrives on scene, you may wonder, well, who does what? And there are clearly defined roles. For example, the chauffeur or driver of the rig is responsible first and foremost of getting to the scene safely, positioning the apparatus, and the chauffeur's role is to give water to those crews operating on the fire ground. And he's going to start by securing a supply line from the fire hydrant, tying it into the apparatus. He'll then go over to what we refer to as the pump panel, which has a lot of dials and gauges, and makes the appropriate connections depending on the type of fire attack involved. And that's their responsibility, is to make sure that they have water, lighting, or anything else that this piece of apparatus provides throughout the duration of the incident. And we'll move around to the other side of the truck. What you're seeing here is the officer of the truck, Captain Parker's, instructing his crew as to what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. And if I'll slide back in front of the camera, the officer's role, when he arrives on the engine, he always sits in the right front seat. So he gets a good view of the fire building as he pulls in. His responsibilities for his crew. His initial action will generally involve giving a radio report. Well, that will always involve giving a radio report as to the conditions that he faces upon arrival. But he'll get out of the truck and he'll do what's called a 360. He'll go around the entire building on all sides and see what conditions he's facing. And that's going to dictate some of the tactics that he's going to employ. Some of the tools that he carries is a hand light, at least one, if not two, a thermal imaging camera here, which basically allows us to see in smoke. And he'll direct his crew. He'll be with the hose line going into the building. He'll be next to the nozzle man, directing them as to which direction to go in and try and get to the seat of the fire as quickly as possible. And our primary mission is for life safety. And most often it's putting the fire out, keeping the fire in check, provides the best opportunity for the survival of any victims. floors of the building. Most of the smoke is coming from the first floor. The crews advanced an inch and 3/4, which is the size of the hose, inline into the building. Another crew is taking a ground ladder, throwing it for access to the second floor. This operation is very manpower intensive. It requires teamwork, coordination, and a lot of practice and training, which is why we're here today, to become proficient in these operations. Laddering the building is important. We generally like to ladder each side of the building, and we like to provide access to upper floors of the building for ventilation, search and rescue, and sometimes it's required for line advancement to extinguish a fire on upper floors. What's required in a scenario like this, after obviously extinguishing the fire, but are a series of things that need to be done. First and foremost is a search of the building. That involves a search on all floors from basement to top floor. It's called a primary search, and that will be accompanied at some point by a secondary search to do it again, to make sure that we haven't missed anybody that may be inside the building, hiding under a bed, in a closet, in the bathtub, anywhere that they may choose to seek refuge. Ventilation is very important here. You can see a couple of windows have been opened, depending on where the fire is, and not that they're able to, or not that they're doing it during this training evolution, but there may be roof ventilation if fire's extended into the attic space. They may use ground ladders to access the roof, or an aerial ladder, and put an opening in the roof to relieve the smoke and gases that have accumulated, so that temperatures come down, visibility improves, the chance of flashover, which is a complete ignition of the room that has killed many firefighters over the years, so that will take place as well. Again, it's very manpower intensive, and you see here 7 or 8 firefighters, and it would, depending on the size of the fire, could easily quadruple that amount. I'm here with firefighter paramedic Leanne Deering, and how's the training going so far?
It's going great so far.
What evolutions were you involved with?
So far my group has done 3 evolutions. We have used a extinguisher to put out fire. We have gone in with a hose line and extinguished a fire, and then we have entered as the search and ventilation crew onto the second floor.
And I assume it's been pretty smoky and a little warm?
Smoky and a little warm. It's good.
That's good. A question. The fire service has historically been a male-dominated profession, and how have you risen to the challenge of doing the job?
I think the biggest thing, being a female in a male-dominated world, is just kind of trying to keep up, or maybe finding a different way to do something. Sometimes we have to do the same job in a little different way to accomplish the same goal.
Such as?
a lot of it, I think, is most women don't have the upper body strength that men have. So lots of times we have to learn to use our legs a little bit more, or adjust something that maybe a typical example would be starting a chainsaw. Most men throw it. I have to step on it and use my arm to pull it just to keep it, and that I don't have the upper body strength to throw it. I think another challenge is, because it is still a male-dominated world, is most stuff is still made for men, including uniforms and gear, and the face masks are always a little big. So it's just kind of making sure you have the right equipment is even a little bit more of a challenge.
Well, I think you've met the challenge, and it's not been easy at times, I'm sure, but you've done a great job. Final question, what got you into the fire service?
I would say the people here got me into the fire service. I grew up in the town of Harwich. I went to Harwich High School. I grew up with many of the people here. I used to babysit their children, so it's kind of sparked an interest young for me. I went to college specifically to do fire science, and after I graduated from college, I entered the paramedic program, and I had always hoped to work in Harwich, and thankfully it kind of worked out that way. The other jobs that I interviewed for before that didn't pan out, and I've been here for 12 years now. So
Terrific. Well,
Perfect.
thanks for your time. I'm going to let you get back to being hot and smoky and uncomfortable. Thanks, Leanne. I'm here with firefighter paramedic Brad Willis. Brad, what I want you to do here is just tell the folks the turnout gear, the protective gear that you're wearing, what it's made of, what it does, its purpose.
Sure. Well, first of all, let me introduce myself. My name's Brad Willis. I'm a firefighter paramedic with the Harwich Fire Department here, and I've been on with the Harwich Fire Department for a little over 3 years. I live in town, originally from the Upper Cape, but moved to town once I got hired here in Harwich, and got a couple little kids and a nice wife. So that's all about me. But about the gear, basically, this is our protective gear, and without this, we wouldn't be able to enter the buildings to get to where the fires are to be able to put them out. So a lot of this stuff has changed over the years, as Captain Clark could probably tell you. The gear that we're wearing now wasn't probably the gear that he was wearing when he first started. So right now we're wearing what's called a three-piece suit, and it's basically, you have your turnout coat here.
Let me hold the mic. Please.
Sure. The turnout coat here consists of 3 different layers. You got your outer shell here. This basically protects us from the most extreme heat. This here is called the thermal barrier, and this it's another level of heat protection. And underneath that, this whole piece unbuttons out. This is our moisture barrier, and inside, in between both of these layers, there's air pockets. And by doing that, it allows the gear to do its job by pulling the moisture away from our body. Obviously, it can get pretty hot inside a burning building, so when you have sweat build up on your body, you want to the gear is designed to pull that moisture away, so you don't actually like get steamed inside your gear. So the coat is basically designed the same as the pants, the same 3 layers in the pants, and then we have leather boots with steel toes on the boots for more foot protection. The coats and the pants have pockets for various things that we carry, any sort of rescue devices or tools that we might need to do some cutting in emergency situations, or even at car accidents, stuff like that. The last piece is obviously the helmet, and this will protect you from anything that falls. Also, the helmet contains this hood here, and that is designed to be worn around your ears, along with the hood that's around my neck. When we put our face mask on, we'll pull this up over our ears as another layer of protection. So that's basically just a brief overview of what we have for gear and what it entails and why we wear it.
Thanks, Brad.
No problem.
I'm here with Captain Donald Parker, captain of Group 1. As we're watching you in this training evolution, advancing hose lines, ground ladders, and so forth, can you talk to us about why this training is important?
Well, it's important for a couple reasons. I mean, obviously to get in and make a quick knockdown to protect lives and property, and also to practice for the safety of our firefighters being number one.
How often do you get up here?
Well, the Fire Academy, we'd like to try to get up here at least once a year.
On a different note, how'd you get started in the fire service?
Well, I have kind of a history of in the fire service. My father was a firefighter in the service, and my uncle was a chief of a surrounding town, and I became a call man way back in 1980. So, but it's kind of in the blood, if you will. My brother's also a retired firefighter.
Okay. Thanks very much.
All right.
And we're going to reintroduce Joe Rigo, who you saw earlier in the program. Joe's going to talk about our breathing apparatus.
I'm wearing right here is called a self-contained breathing apparatus. It's a SCBA for short. We wear this so we're able to breathe inside of hazardous conditions. Right here I have the mask piece, which will go on my face, and a regulator which is connected with the hose to this tank on my back and allows me to breathe fresh air that I have stored in this tank. Right on my right chest here I have a pass device. This device is integrated with this pack, and what we use it for is whenever we're on air or whenever we're in a hazardous situation, we can set this off as an alarm to sound saying maybe we ran out of air or we need help. It also shows me how much air I have in my tank with this little gauge right here. I'll take off my pack here and show you the parts.
Joe, what's the approximate weight of this pack? I'm not going to hold you to it.
It's not light. I would say maybe 20 pounds.
One very important item that we carry on our gear are these tags, and they're part of an accountability system that's used throughout Barnstable County, and it's in response over the years where on the fire ground, as I'd mentioned, it can be a very chaotic scene. There can be hundreds of firefighters on the fire ground at once, and this system is one where we try and keep track of those that are on the fire ground, who they're with, and what they're doing. So in Harwich, as in all the departments on Cape Cod, each member has a tag with them. They leave it on the fire truck. One of the responsibilities is for the officer to collect the tags. They'll come as a group. That team will come as a group with a collection of these tags, leave them with the incident commander, generally the chief of department who's running the scene. And once a tactic or strategy to mitigate the situation has been put in place, teams have been assigned, that those tags will be placed generally on a board that indicates what the assignment is and who's carrying out that assignment, so that in the event that something happens, a flashover, a backdraft, a collapse, an explosion, and we'll be able to more easily identify who's in trouble, who they're with, and what they were involved with at that particular time, which would necessitate a rescue. And you'd heard firefighter Rigo talk about a RIT team, a rapid intervention team, would then be deployed in a rapid manner to come find them. But this accountability system is key to improve firefighter safety on the fire ground. And the other thing that's important to note here is it's extremely strenuous work. Throwing ground ladders, the equipment that we carry, advancing lines that are filled with water, takes a lot of strength, and it zaps your strength pretty quickly. So the air that we we carry on our backs, lasting maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, goes pretty quick. So it's important to rotate teams, and that's why you might see quite a few firefighters that look like they aren't doing much, but they're standing by in case either to relieve the teams that are inside, or they'll be assigned as a RIT team standing by outside in case one of the firefighters, the team of firefighters, gets in trouble and needs immediate assistance. So it's very labor intensive, and it's hard work. So by all accounts, it looks like Group 1's had a very successful day here at the Academy. On the receipt of a call for a building fire in Harwich, on a good day, you may get an officer, a driver, and 2 firefighters in the jump seat, which is the area in the rear of the cab where the firefighters sit. It may only be the officer and the driver. In the event that he has firefighters in the jump seat, their responsibility is to get off the truck with their turnout gear, breathing apparatus on their back, and carrying a set of tools. And we talked about one may have the can, pressurized water extinguisher, and a rake. The other firefighter, if there is one, will get off the truck with a set of what we call irons. A flathead axe. It's got no pointy part to it, good for striking. And a Halligan tool, which has got several different design features on it that most often will allow us to gain access, and we call that forcible entry. A lot of times these properties that we go to are locked, so we need quick access, and these tools used correctly can get us into properties that may be locked or blocked by a number of different ways. So that's what they get off the truck with. And again, the firefighter that has the rake, it's good for a search tool when they get inside and are crawling in zero visibility. They can use this tool on the floor to search for any victims. Once the fire is out, this is one of the tools that they would use in an overhaul operation to access behind drywall. So they pull the drywall off ceilings and walls to check for any remaining pockets of fire. So what may seem like an unorganized, helter-skelter type of operation really is a well laid out plan. A lot of it's discussed beforehand as to who's doing what and how. And again, for the larger picture, there's a management system that's in place on the fire ground that may pre-position apparatus so that those questions are eliminated once you get there. There's enough to be thinking about, so if you have a lot of these things thought out beforehand, it helps the operation go relatively smoothly. So that's it today from the Barnstable County Fire Rescue Training Academy. I want to thank them for allowing Channel 18 to be here. I want to thank Rob Christensen for his time, Director Lee Paraso for his welcoming of us here, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.